Hello, good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, December 9th. It is our 46 episodes. Wow. I've been doing this over a month. 46 episodes. In fact, I'm almost excited as we're coming to the end of the year that I get to start the new year and I'm in full swing of this. So, episode 46. Let's, of course, start with a prayer. I think a prayer is always important. I want to pray for a couple of things because what's been happening is the cold, the weather. It's making my joints. It's making my voice a little hoarse. So it was a rough morning last night. But I want to start off with a prayer. So, dear God, allow this live to be positive, upbeat, educational. Allow me to understand and comprehend the words that I read in your book. Allow the words to go through me and incorporate into my life. Allow peace among all the participants, as well as allow me a pain-free night or day, a pain-free day, that I may be able to read your work. Amen. Okay, guys, so, like I said, this is episode 46. Yesterday, full 3-hour show, and we only got through chapter 11. Which is funny, because I know previous chapters we spent a couple of days on, but chapter 11 to me was a very difficult chapter in Numbers, because I feel like the Lord has such an explosive temper. And I know I'm offending people when I say he goes on this murderous rampages, but seriously, that's what he's doing. He's so consumed by his passionate fire that he's literally blows up on everything every time they displease him. And I almost want to say, isn't there an expectation of resistance when you give something free will? I'm curious about that. I mean, I think that's a very, very good question. If you give somebody the chance to have free will and free choice, will they always be choosing what you want? Or do they really have free will? Because that's why I get confused with his anger. Hello, Frodo. Welcome to the show. And hello, everybody else. I don't know what that symbol is, but I'm going to just call you O. Chapter 31. Ooh. I have no idea what's going to happen in 31. But like I said, what keeps happening now is literally every couple of pages or every couple of chapters, he goes on a rampage. So yesterday he went on a rampage because the children of Israel disobeyed him. Well, actually, they didn't disobey him. They went up to him basically because they wanted to eat meat. They wanted to incorporate meat into their diet. They're sick and tired of unleavened bread that it's like, okay, we want meat. So his explosive attitude is like, fine, you want meat? I'm going to dump so much meat on you that you're going to have... So he ended up killing them through gluttony, engorging, through the disease of all these quails that he just dumped on them. And we were trying to figure out the numbers. I mean, somebody was saying that for every person, it was roughly 10 tons worth of quails, and there's 600,000 people. So we have these astronomical numbers of how many dead quail was dumped on them. Which I almost find that kind of, I find that kind of comical in a way. I feel like I'm reading the story of Leprechaun or Genie, and I'm not trying to make fun, but you be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. But what you wish for doesn't necessarily come about the way you want it to, and I think that's what it is, and that's why part of me was debating: were these people starving, or were these people genuinely greedy and just wanted meat? And I mean, you could look at it from very different perspectives based upon what their motivation was for being dissatisfied for not having meat. And you laugh. Why? I can't laugh. I mean, I think this is funny. I mean, I think I will say this: everybody needs to laugh. Laughter is the best medicine, even if it's laughter in a negative way. And I have to be careful with that sometimes. But laughter is a coping mechanism, and it is a release of pent up energy, and it's also a way to turn the mindset from anger or depression into a positive mood. So yes, I have a tendency to giggle a lot. Numbers is not funny at all. Well, see, this is where you and I are different. I think it's horrific. I mean, it's horrific to the point that it's almost like a comic relief. I mean, and something you could disagree with, but he's already on multiple murderous rampages. I mean, the Lord has been on a murderous rampage since back to Genesis. And that's why I still believe that the Lord is different than God. And I mean, I know a lot of people don't like me saying that, but like I said, his attitude is completely different. So we are starting chapter 12. And at this point, like I said, he just dumped the quail on people because basically he's like, fine, you're going to object that you're not eating meat. I'm going to give you as much meat as you want until it literally comes out of your nostrils. And he dumped all this quail on them to the point that the land became like uninhabitable. And he called it Kibroth Hattaavah because they buried the people that lusted. So the people who lusted over meat were left dead and buried in this land, and they just simply moved on. Yep, and you still like the guy and laugh about it. Okay, but I'm not going to argue, but yes, I am going to laugh about it. So, because I think it's funny. I think what the funniest thing is, and you may appreciate this or you might, is the fact that for all the years that I've gone to church, that I've been in religion, that I've been, I'll say that I've been indoctrinated, I never learned any of this stuff. And it's amazing that it took all these years for me to be like, you know something? I've been exposed to this all my life. Let me actually open it up and see what it says. And it often makes me wonder how many people blindly follow faith without actually reading what it is that they're reading. So that's why I think this is funny, because originally I said to myself, I want to prove myself wrong. But then as I started reading, I'm like, you know something? I'm not proving myself wrong. This is part of the journey to begin with. This is the journey that, wow, it's like my life is becoming full circle. It's like everything I was ever taught, everything that I was ever exposed to, all the things that have been preached in me, I am now making a conscious choice. And I think it's funny. So, sent a goat? Thank you, Frodo. I don't know what a goat is. Well, I guess greatest of all time, but I'm looking for a goat. Okay, it does say goat. I don't know. I was getting this image of a goat going across. Thank you. I appreciate that. Lots of love. All of a sudden, it just said sent a goat. I don't know. I was getting this. Yeah. I said to Chris someday, I mean, they don't, obviously not in the cold, but during like the springtime and summertime, they, at the local ranches, they do goat yoga. I said, Chris, I want to do goat yoga. And he looks at me, he's like, what is goat yoga? I said, it's literally going outside in the ranch among the goats and doing yoga. And he's like, who would want to do that? I said, that's the point. He's like, wouldn't it smell and be disgusting? I said, you know something, it probably will. But every time I see goat, I think of that. It's like goat yoga. I know. I have to focus, guys. I got to get out of my bubbles, because sometimes one bubble leads to another. I'm sorry. But thank you. I appreciate that, Frodo. Yeah, I will admit, guys, last night was a hard night. I kept waking up. I kept waking up. And even Chris, I mean, he said to me, he's like, I woke up a few times. You weren't even in the room. And he knows that when I leave the room, that pretty much means I'm in so much pain that I can't even lie down. And that's what one of those things that was happening yesterday. So I just let him sleep. He knows that. But like last night, I was like, the pain. Hello, Beth. Welcome to the show. Say hi to mommy for me. All right, so let's start chapter 12. So I'm reading the very first line, and already I'm confused about one thing, which, you know something? Let me look that up real quick. This way, before I get into it. Yeah, usually it's the very first line, and I'm like, already we're starting with this but I want to see who Miriam is. Because we're going to be talking about Miriam, but somewhere along the lines in the family tree, I neglected to find out who Miriam is. I'm going to assume it's one of the wives, but whose wife? So who is Miriam in the Bible Numbers? Okay, so let's see. Okay, so Miriam is the older sister of Moses and Aaron. Okay, so that makes sense. So now we're talking to the sister. So the sister is basically going to come down and waggle her finger. You should keep a side tally of each time God unalives. I said that, Frodo. I'm not trying to make fun of it, but I said this the other day. I said, how many times is he going on a murderous rampage? I should have a little chalkboard and go check, check, check. I know, and I'm not trying. I mean, it is funny, but he goes on to a murderous rampage. All right, so we're going to start with Miriam, chapter 12. If anybody wants to follow with me, it's Numbers. And Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman who he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. Scandals. Okay, so that's why I said I looked at the first and I'm like, already we're getting scandalous. So, in all this travels, Moses found love. I'm assuming it's love. But he decided to marry an Ethiopian woman, which makes me wonder, okay, aside from, I'm assuming Ethiopian women are not part of the children of Israel, so he's going outside the children of Israel to marry this Ethiopian woman. So what is so special and why are they upset? Let's find out. Hopefully it tells us. And they said, had the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Had he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. Okay, I'm going to pause because there's an interesting thing in my Bible. And whoops, Pikachu. Oh, this is Pikachu. There's an interesting thing in my Bible, and I'm not too sure if it's in the other ones, but chapter 12, verse 3 is in parentheses. Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men which are upon the face of the earth. So that's almost an oxymoron. How is he meek but above all the men at the same time? So I'm just curious, do other books have it in parentheses? I'm going to go to the Parallel Bible because this is 4 books in one. If I could actually open it up to the right section. It is Numbers 12, verse 3. So Numbers verse 3. Okay, so now the man Moses was meek more than all the men, yes. Verse 3. Interesting, the Living Bible doesn't even have verse 3. Oh, wait. Okay, it's flip-flopped. Okay, in the Living Bible, verse 3 is verse 4. Because now it says, now Moses was humblest man on the earth. Okay. This one says, now Moses was a very humble man, more humble than anything else on the face of the earth. And this one says, now the man Moses was very meek, above all the... Okay. So now I'm looking at it in two different ways. You can say, okay, because he married this Ethiopian, he's now humbled because he's doing something that normally isn't done. That's like the humblest. But then if you look at it in the King James Version, it's saying he was very meek, humble, above all the men. And that's why I got confused. I'm like, wait a minute, is he meek or is he above all the men? But I guess they're saying that he's so meek, nobody else is as meek as him. You're seeing it as being racism? Abrahamic are rooted... you're saying that Abrahamic religion. It's right. It's saying that Ethiopians were lesser. So he's humbling himself because he married this woman that's outside the children of Israel. And I guess Miriam, the sister, is angry. Aaron's going to be angry. I'm wondering how the Lord is going to take on this. But let's see. So the Lord spoke suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and unto Miriam. Come out, ye three, unto the tabernacle of the congregation. Okay, so this is, I'm waiting for the finger waggling. So he's like, you three, come out. Which, let's remember something. The Lord is actually there. That's one thing I find amazing, is in all this, in no matter what form he is, whether it's cloud, smoke, fire, the Lord is actually in the tabernacle. So he can talk with him. He can interact with him. Something that's very different than nowadays. Because when you go to the church, it's not less necessarily the Lord himself that's there. Some could say it's the Spirit of the Lord. But in this case, the Lord is actually there with them. So he's like, all right, come on now. And the Lord came down in the pillar of a cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. So once again, they're physically seeing this thing. He's physically coming down, even though he's in a cloud, but he's standing in the door of this tabernacle. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak to him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all my house. With him I will speak, mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches, and the similitude of the Lord shall be behold. Wherefore were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? All right, so let's pause for a second, because this is very interesting. So the first thing he's saying is that Moses is not a prophet. Am I reading that correctly? My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all my house. So the Lord is saying, okay, give me a prophet among you. Who is the prophet? Now, why I find that interesting is, one, shouldn't the Lord know who the prophets are in the camp? He's all-knowing. Wouldn't he know who the prophets are within the children of Israel? So that's question number one. Question number two, why a prophet? Because from my understanding, a prophet is somebody who is fortune-telling, who is using divine techniques to say the future, who is making some divine message of the gods. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? So why is the Lord looking for a human who can then talk to or receive visions or have some sort of divine intervention, and he doesn't know who that person is? Or you get what I'm saying? That's why I find each time I read more about the Lord, there's just something about it. Because I would expect that the Lord would be like, okay, this man right here is a prophet. I'm going to speak to him in a dream. But he's like, no, go out and go find a prophet for me, and I will give my message to him, because Moses, you're not a prophet. I can't speak to you. So I almost feel like he's punishing Moses for the infraction of marrying this Ethiopian. I could be wrong, I could be off the mark, but that's what it sounds like to me, and that's the way I'm taking it. Okay, so, were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. Okay, so once again, the Lord is angry again, and he goes on a temper tantrum. So he departed, he leaves. So he left them off with a question. Were ye not afraid to speak against? So he's actually talking to Aaron and the sister. Aren't you afraid that you spoke out against Moses? But he got so... Yes, I am reading the King James. However, I also have the parallel Bible with me, and I'm doing a cross-reference. And I have a few other versions here as well. So when something gets a little confusing, I'll start looking at the different versions. But the version I'm reading is King James. It's not even a translation. Okay, what's not a translation? Because one of the things is the version that I'm reading here happens to be a 1977 version. This King James version is much different if anybody's reading a modern-day King James version for the last 10 years. So even this version, and I do have a 1954 King James version, which is a little different than this. So it almost appears that every 10 years or so, they're changing the words of the Bibles. Yes, I know the history about King James, and I know the history about the Bibles. I chose King James because, one, that's the most common Bible. Two, this was the one that I grew up with, where my grandma was like, King James is the one and only version. So I want to know why she kept saying King James is the one and only version. I actually have different perspective, but you know something? I'm reading it because it is the number one Bible. King James Version is an old one. King James Version was a translation in the 1610. So in 1610, King James basically had his conference among the elders of the church, and they decided to do a translation of the Bible and kick things out. If you really want to read the oldest Bible, read the Ethiopian Bible. That's the one to read. But I'm doing King James Version, so I don't know about the King James, or I wouldn't. That's not true. You can know a lot of things without necessarily accepting it. So, but I mean, you can look at the whole Constantine. Do we go with paganism or do we go with Christianity? And the whole thing is they decided to mix paganism with Christianity. So I do know my history of King James, but I'm reading this version simply because this is the number one. So, okay. So now the Lord goes off into his temper tantrum again. The anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. The cloud departed from the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow, and Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. Okay, so now, in his anger, he's giving the plague of leprosy again to Miriam, simply because I guess she questioned the whole idea behind Moses marrying an Ethiopian. Susan said, just asking. Oh, no, that's fine. Susan, you can ask any questions you want. So, okay, so fine. If what I stated is factually incorrect, you could put down whatever you want. They did not translate from the original is Aramaic and Hebrew. I mean, it all depends on which lineage that you look at. But King James translation is a completely different translation where they took so many books out and then they added stuff in. I mean, part of me, even in reading this, is wondering, is that the original text or was this added by man? Because one of the questions I have, particularly in the whole Leviticus, when he's going through the laws, is you would think the Bible was a set of rules between you and God alone. Why is he micromanaging the laws between man and man? That's a question I have. Particularly down to, I mean, I almost want to say, why would slavery or the distribution of cattle, or the food chain, or why would that even be any inkling of what the Lord needs to? And what it shows me is, with as many rules that the Lord has, is that there is no free will. He's micromanaging every aspect of everything. So that's why my question is there really free will? There isn't. So they didn't like the bishops, so they were, yeah, I agree. I'm going to agree. I mean, you're preaching to the choir. I agree that the King James Version is a twisted version of the Bible. However, you got to look at the fact it is the number one Bible that people refer to. When people refer to a Bible, it is generally the King James Version. So, I mean, I'll say this, you're yappering on. I don't know why, but all right. Anyway, so where was I? Okay, so now Miriam has leprosy, so she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not this sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and where we have sinned. Okay, so how, this is a question. How did they sin? It almost my question is, just for them questioning the marriage, it's considered a sin. Just for the people earlier questioning whether they are allowed to eat meat, it's a sin and punished. So to me, it almost appears like you need to blindly accept whatever the Lord says, whether you agree with it or not, because any deviation from what the Lord wants, even if it is just merely to question, he's going to go on a rampage and kill you. That's what's happening. So the fact that they spoke against Moses and saying, like, Moses, what are you doing? You're marrying this Ethiopian. The Lord's coming down in anger and giving them leprosy. So, why do Christians always argue words don't mean what they mean? See, if anything, you're not paying attention. I am so focused on the words. Words have a meaning. So, like I said, what you're saying is making no sense. So you can keep going on, but that's all right. Hello, Sarah. Welcome to the show. So now, each time they are questioning or rebelling, the Lord is becoming instantly angered. He flares up his anger. So now he just gave Miriam leprosy simply for questioning Moses' marriage. And oh God, you know something? I don't have patience today. There we go. I don't have patience. Yeah, I think today, and it's funny because I prayed for, I probably should have added patience to it. I prayed that this would be a calming, good show, but I didn't have the patience. So you know something? For a time being, you're more than welcome to say, I just muted you, because it's getting to the point where those are ridiculous questions, where you're going to say, I don't know the meaning of words, I don't know what I'm talking about. Fine, that's your opinion. That's fine. That's why I'm sitting here learning and reading the words, and so whatever. Anyway, so he now gave Miriam leprosy. That is a consequence for a sin. But Sarah, we just started Numbers chapter 12, and I'm on verse 11. So Numbers chapter 12, 11. Very, very interesting thing, because it turns out that Moses just married an Ethiopian. So Moses married an Ethiopian. Miriam, who is Aaron and Moses' sister, is in an uproar right now. So is Aaron, that they confront Moses, like, why did you marry this Ethiopian? The Lord comes into the picture in anger, like he always does, and as a result of their sin, which that's my question is, why is questioning simply a sin? So for their sins of questioning, he just gave Miriam leprosy. So now Miriam has leprosy. And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, when we have done foolishly and where we have sinned. But see, that's my thing. I don't think they're sin. So they're apologizing simply for questioning the marriage. It's not like they actually did anything. It's not like they actually did a sin. It's just simply like, hey, why is Moses marrying this woman that's not part of our tribe or our group, whatever? Let her not be as one of dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, when he cometh out of his mother's womb. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, when he cometh out of his mother's womb. To me, that sounds like biblical abortion again. Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, heal her now, O God, I beseech thee. Okay, so they're trying to heal Miriam because she has leprosy. So I guess they're talking about with her rotting away. And the Lord said unto Moses, if her father had but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out of the camp 7 days, and after that let her be received in again. And Miriam was shut from the camp 7 days, and the people journeyed not till Miriam was brought in again. And afterward the people removed from the Hazeroth and pitched the wilderness of Paran. Okay, so this is a very, very tiny chapter. I'm going to say, okay, yeah, because immediately we go to chapter 13. So I want to say this is one of those things that is significant but completely insignificant at the same time. Like, technically, we didn't need to know this story, but yet it is a significant story that it's in here because this is a story that's going to be totally forgotten because the camp is going to move on. But what I find interesting is now Moses has a wife. So we know he has a wife. At first, Miriam did not like that he had a wife because she was Ethiopian, so they immediately get punished. She's going to be put into this leprosy. But here's what I find interesting. If her father had but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? So, you're saying it's speaking... Okay, wait, hold on. Oh, good morning, Kaz. Welcome to the show. Because of Moses standing in the sight of God, they weren't speaking against Moses. They were speaking against God himself. But were they? That's the question. Were they speaking against God themselves? I mean, all right. If we look at the sanctity of marriage, that, okay, Moses married this Ethiopian before the eyes of the Lord. So it was a marriage that was, I guess, approved by the Lord. So now they're questioning and saying, wait a minute, how could this marriage be approved because she's an Ethiopian? What is they doing with an Ethiopian? I mean, I almost want to say, how is it a sin to have a difference of opinion? And that's what I feel like this is. They really didn't go against God. It's not like they kidnapped her or did something with her that's saying, like, you know what I mean, you can no longer be his wife or hurt her. They're simply like, what are you doing with this woman? This woman has no right to be your wife. That's simply what they're saying. So the fact that their punishment for that is literally a plague of leprosy. And I find it interesting that the Lord said unto Moses, if her father had spit in her face, isn't the Lord her father? Spiritual father? So why is he saying if her father spit in, unless he's talking about his father, who's God? But you know what I mean? I often wonder if the Lord is the son of God in the spiritual form, because like I said, I still detach the Lord from God. So that's why I'm trying to find out, because why would he say if her father had spit in her face, should she not be ashamed for 7 days? Isn't he saying she has done bad against my father? All right, speaking against God himself. Let me keep going. He did not lay with her. Study. Okay, well, that's what I'm doing, Grateful. I mean, it doesn't say anything whether or not he did at this point, so all I know is he married her. The whole speech, Moses is different than any other prophet. He speaks directly to God. Well, okay, Kaz, that's the question, because it started off where the Lord says, "Hear my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known to him in a vision and will speak. My servant is not, Moses is not so." So isn't the Lord saying that Moses is not a prophet? So he's looking for a prophet among the camp? Which, like I said, my question earlier was, wouldn't the Lord already know who the prophet is? Spitting was a huge sign of disrespect. And that's what I figured. It is. I guess the reference I'm trying to make is, who is he referring to as the father? Him, his father, or her actual father? Miriam questioned Moses and was higher than anyone else, and that was not okay in that time. No, Moses is higher than a prophet because he spoke to God directly. So is the Lord saying, oops, decline. So then if I may ask this, is the Lord saying that although I speak to Moses directly, is there actually a prophet among you that I could talk to instead? Because Moses is not the one. So I'm trying to figure out in this, is the Lord angry with Moses, or is he only angry with Miriam and Aaron for going against Moses? That's my question. Is the Lord angry with Moses? Because the Lord punished Miriam, didn't punish Moses, and didn't punish Aaron. Miriam was the one that got leprosy. So is he just upset with those two for objecting the wedding? Or is he upset with Moses as well and wants nothing to do with Moses, and that's why he's looking for another prophet, because all three of them have angered him? All right, so no, Moses is higher than a prophet because he spoke to God directly. And no, her regular father, who was like king of their own family. Maybe because, well, I think a lot of it has to do with Miriam being a woman. Because back then, women are not allowed to speak up. You can't go against what men say. You can't. So I feel like this is an important chapter, and I feel like I'm missing the symbolism behind the chapter. Because, like I said, the first question I have is whether or not is the whole idea of finding a prophet. Like I said, I would think that the Lord knows who the prophets are and also the idea, if you look at the history of prophecy, we're getting into magic, we're getting into divination, fortune telling, that sort of thing. So it's very interesting that would be the person that the Lord wants to talk to. So that's issue number one. Issue number two is, who is he actually angry with? Is he angry with all three of them, or only angry with Miriam and Aaron for going against Moses, or is Moses also included that he's angry? That's the part I'm a little confused with. And women didn't question the men, because, like, how exactly? Yeah, women were not allowed to speak out against the men. I just looked this up, and that was what I just read was the original. Miriam seems to be the instigator, which, yeah, I will agree with that, because Miriam was the one. Yeah, and Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because the Ethiopian woman who he had married an Ethiopian woman. So they are upset, and I would think that Miriam was the instigator, which is fine. She could be the instigator, but who is the Lord angry with? Is it all three of them? Like, is he angry the fact that he married an Ethiopian? Or is he only angry with Miriam and Aaron for being against Moses marrying? I don't know. I think it's supposed to show just how important Moses was in history. So important that God cursed someone for speaking out against them. So she was being racist. Absolutely, she was being racist. It's like, how dare you marry an Ethiopian? Yeah, I think you can say it. If not, I'll probably be the first one that gets flagged that says hate speech. But yes, I think that's what it is. This is the beginning, well, not the beginning, but this is a historical proof of racism. Okay, so now for 7 days, she was shut out of the camp. So basically, they put her in like a timeout for 7 days. but in 7 days she was welcomed back in the camp. So I'm assuming after 7 days her leprosy was gone, because that goes back to, if you remember, that long instruction on cleanliness versus uncleanliness involving lepers, that they would go to the tabernacle, they would have to be separated for 7 days, and if they came back, depending upon what the color of their boils were, like there was a whole chapter on that. So it does explain why she was sequestered for 7 days, is exactly what his original testimony was on how to deal with leopards. So even though they prayed and said, that Moses prayed and says, I beseech thee, heal her now, the Lord's like, no, you got to follow my command, and that's why she was separated for the 7 days. Let me see. But not racist like we think. God told them not to marry women from other lands, not because of race, but because mixing pagan and Jewish. Exactly. I was sitting here thinking, weren't they commanded to marry within? Yes, they were. So I think he is angry, but that's what I'm saying. If he was angry with the marriage, why is he punishing Miriam for questioning the marriage? Wouldn't he punish Moses directly? Or wouldn't he punish the wife, the Ethiopian, for how dare she marries Moses? So I'm like, that's where I'm probably missing the symbolism behind this chapter. I feel like it's an important chapter, and I feel like there's more to the story, but they just brushed it up. It's literally 16 verses, and then that's it. We're going into a whole nother story in chapter 13. So it's like an important piece of information, but we're missing the whole picture. So then Moses was in the wrong, and she just called him out. Exactly. She called him out, but the problem is Miriam got punished for calling him out as opposed to Moses or his wife. He's not angry about the marriage. He's mad at Miriam for starting drama. That's a good way to put it. That really is. So it's like, shut up, woman. I'm giving you leprosy for 7 days. Go quarantine yourself in a hospital or something. Yeah, I do have to admit, guys, and not with you guys, this is a fun conversation, but my patience is very, so I already muted a couple of people, but but it's like, I'm going to read this, I'm going to talk, I'm going to smile, but you can tell I'm a little out of it this morning. I didn't get any sleep. There was no sleep last night. All right, let's go to chapter 13. So actually, I want to put that question. So the question is, Noah. Moses marries an Ethiopian. God is angry and gives leprosy to Miriam. Okay. I just want to write this down because I know this is going to come back in some way. It may or may not, but it's like an obscure little storyline, like a little side quest, but I feel like it's significant. You're going to have to look into it. I find it interesting too, Sarah. That's why I said I feel like this is a side quest story that has significance, but we're brushing through it completely, and it makes me wonder, the next question I have is, where does Moses' wife come in? I mean, is she going to come in later on, or is this the one and only reference we ever hear about his wife? It's a good question, but let's see what happens. In fact, do we even have a name for her? We don't even have a woman. She's simply an Ethiopian woman. She's not even named in the Bible, as far as of right now. It's the start of God opening his covenant to others who are willing to worship. Okay, and Sarah has a question. Throw the question in. We love questions. So, I'm still wondering, Kaz, because the one requirement that he had for men in this in this covenant was they had to be circumcised. So I'm wondering if that's constantly going to come into play, that anybody who wants to worship and convert has to be circumcised. Okay. Have you all seen the group of people that claim They are the true. All right, I want to be careful. That's why I didn't say that particular word. I will tell you something funny, and I'm not trying to make fun. I born and raised in New York. Used to go to New York City all the time, and there is the tribe of Israel, the children of Israel. Okay, they always are in like Times Square. They're always in the subways. They are always, and they are dressed. I mean, this is straight out of like caravans. They look like the three wise men with their colorful tunics and and they will be on the street screaming at the top of their lungs, basically about the promised land, about this and that. I will say this: their rhetoric is very, very angry and racist, and I have to be careful. Supremacy of their race, okay, and I'm trying to be careful, but yes, it is a group of what you said people. So that's the tribe of Israel. It's a big religion culture type thing, and they're always screaming. And I just remember every time I would go on the subway and be in the city and stuff like that, and it's like, and they just come in and start screaming in the subway cars and stuff like that. Whatever. I wonder if this is where that theory comes in. It probably is. Kaz says it's the Jewish law. My thing says the fact that Miriam was cursed was a sign that this marriage was approved by God. And okay, so then he wouldn't be upset with the Ethiopian and with Moses. He's upset with Miriam and Aaron, but he didn't punish Aaron because Aaron is his top priest. So he's like, you know something, woman, shut up. Here's leprosy. You're quarantined from the camp for 7 days. That's your punishment for even speaking out about this marriage. Now shut up. So now that could be a good consequence, but like I said, I don't see how it's a sin simply for questioning. So it makes me feel like you can't even question or disagree with what God is saying, what the Lord is saying. Yeah, it's a whole cult-like group, and I wonder if this is where they got their doctrine. Absolutely, that's what the tribes of Israel, the children of Israel. So I think they're reading the Old Testament to the law, and they are obeying it word for word. He didn't say mixed race. He said don't marry into pagans. Theory is that Zipporah converted their beliefs before marrying Moses. Now, I'm going to say something probably that may get me in trouble, but just read between the lines of what I'm saying. Would race not be an issue back then? Because with travel, with people, there weren't necessarily too many differences among people. It's a genuine question. I mean, we knew we had, okay, so as of right now, we know we have Egyptians, we know we have Ethiopians. You understand what I'm saying? I'm like, the people you're going to be interacting with are probably going to be the same skin tone, the same hair color, eye color. I mean, we made a couple of references where somebody had red hair, which I thought was interesting because I'm assuming that everybody is of some sort of dark or brown skin nature in the Bible, not the blonde hair, blue-eyed sort of things. So it makes me wonder if race really wasn't an issue. It was more of the line of your descendants of where your birthplace was. Because one of the big things, and it had nothing to do with religion, it's they were not allowed to marry within the Canaanites. It's like stay away from the Canaanites. Abraham wasn't allowed to mix and mingle. So, okay, so look back to Exodus 2:21. Exodus 2:21. I'll go back because I did say we would go back, but what's Exodus 2:21 say? Exodus 2:21. See, this is fascinating, but I have such a bad headache. Okay, 221. And Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah, his daughter. And she bare him a son, and he called the name Gershom. Zipporah. Maybe that's, yeah. Well, no, actually, maybe. No, because then that's an Egyptian. Look back. Okay, because it says, Rael, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds who threw waters. He said unto his daughter, where is he? Let call him that he may eat bread. And Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah his daughter. So this was an Egyptian, not an Ethiopian. Did Moses have multiple wives? Possible. Okay, but good point, because it does say that the man gave the daughter. So we don't know if Zipporah is the same as the Ethiopian. It may or may not be. Miriam, by questioning, was thinking she knew more than God about what was going on. Open. I have no idea what you're trying to say, Knack, but welcome to the show. Race as color of skin, no, because that's what I'm saying. They would have all been the same skin tone, skin color. They're just coming from different areas, countries. I don't even know if you consider them countries back then, but different named places. So I don't think race would ever be an issue, but religion would be an issue, and your birthplace would be an issue. Oh, all right. Whatever Knack has to say. Okay, sorry guys. Okay, so Zipporah is Moses' wife. Okay, so the one that the Egyptian. Okay, so Zipporah is Moses' wife. All right, that clears it out. Okay. So Exodus 2:21 is a cross-reference of numbers. Mine says Cushite, not Ethiopian. Okay, so Cushite. What is a Cushite? All right, baby, I love you, but I can't read if you're on here. It's a group mentioned in the Bible, specifically descendants of Cush, the son of Ham, the grandson of Noah. They are historically significant as a civilization, particularly in regions corresponding to Sudan and Ethiopia. So that would explain if she's a Cushite being from Ethiopia. So yes, a Cushite is an Ethiopian. So that's where the correlation is between that. Mine says Cushite in the footnotes. Okay. Cushite is the land. Okay, so now we're going to accept Cushite is Ethiopia. And see, I love things when you ask questions like this, because immediately when you said Cushite, I'm like, what is a Cushite? And it's saying it's regions corresponding to Sudan and Ethiopia, so it just has to do with a translation. So good point. Okay. I think we're on chapter 13. So maybe this is the second wife of Moses, not Zipporah. You know something? Let me cheat. Who are Moses' wives? Let's see what we got. Okay, the Bible does not explicitly say that Moses had more than one wife. However, Zipporah was one of the wives. But, okay, there's a video. Oh, I got my little puzzle here. Hold on. Put my puzzle. There is a YouTube video that talks about Moses having multiple wives, because there's Zipporah and then the mysterious Cushite. So I think people are either separating them as two separate people or putting them one in the same. So I think this is one of those things of it is a debate. It's either he had two wives or Zipporah is the wife. But it did say that he had two children, Gershon and... All right. So maybe the second one is not separate. I think the moral is not the marriage, but don't question God's plan. And I agree with you, Kaz. It's just the story was a little confusing as far as why is he getting so angry just for questioning. And I think that's just, once again, it's a fear tactic that you don't even have the right to question me. Even questioning me, you're going to get punished. And in this case, she could have been punished by death, but it was a 7-day quarantine. But that's where I'm talking about the Lord being so hot-tempered. You can't even question him. He's instantly going to give consequences. I think it's one of those things that's debated and never answered. Correct. Wait till you see what he does to Job when he has questions. Oh, this is going to get interesting. All right, let's go to 13. I know I'm the type that would be the question. Like if something I don't understand, I would question it, and I'll be the one that gets in trouble. All right, so chapter 13. The Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I have given unto the children of Israel, of every tribe of their fathers, shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moses, by the commandment of the Lord, sent them from the wilderness to Paran. All those men were heads of the children of Israel. Okay, so I was just talking about this. Don't mingle. So they're going to take back the land of the Canaanites. That's what it sounds like. He's sending them to war. He's not sending them just to go have a nice conversation. It sounds like, because it says, every ruler among them, send them to the Canaan. You don't get in trouble for questioning. You get in trouble for thinking you know better than God. Okay, he's just got to keep their pride in check, letting them know, I'm still God and you're not. It's an interesting way. Like I said, I just feel like it was such an extreme punishment simply for her questioning. Oh, no, don't worry about it. I'm usually way behind because I'll be addressing something and then there's all this text that keep going. So you're not behind at all. Oh, I dropped my pen. Okay. All right. But didn't that command not to marry come in Leviticus? Well, see, that's okay. Good point. There was a command about don't. It went all the way back to Abraham. This was even before Moses and everything. But with Abraham, you do not want to marry outside your covenant, I guess. And then it was repeated with Moses. So they weren't supposed to marry. So now the question is, did he actually marry outside, or was it a marriage that was sanctioned by the Lord? It's just Aaron and Miriam were against it. You know what I mean? Was this something that the Lord is like already like, this is fine, it's the wife, I give it on to you, you know what I mean? And is it Zipporah from the Egyptians? Like, is this the same woman? We don't know just yet. And it doesn't necessarily say whether he had one or two wives. Okay, wait. I just looked up Tharbus. Moses' second wife is believed to be Tharbus, a Cushite princess. According to a biblical interpretation, he was initially married to Zipporah, a Midianite woman, and then later married Tharbus, as suggested by various sources. The mention of a Cushite woman in Numbers 12:1 has led many to believe that Moses had two wives. Okay, so that should explain it. So Tharbus. But where does the word Tharbus come from? All right, so this is one of those cases that I love Google, and that's why Google is just a farce. I mean, okay, if anybody understands, I hate Google, but I use it all the time. Depending upon how you ask the question, if you ask, did Moses have two wives, you literally get two answers. Half the answers say, no, Moses only had one wife. The other half say, and if you change the word, because now I changed the question, who was Moses' second wife? as opposed to how many wives did Moses have? Two different questions, but so how many wives Moses had? They said one, but who is Moses' second wife is telling me the second wife is Tharbus. So this is one of those things I don't even think historians can agree. So we're just going to say Moses had either one or two wives. We do know Zipporah was one of the wives. That was the one who was an Egyptian that he got earlier on before this journey. Now he got a second wife, but we don't know if it's the same wife or not. And this is an Ethiopian that he now has. So we're just going to accept I'm going to say, Sarah, we're going to accept the fact that he's married. We just don't know how many times he was married. Everything created by man with Vanish includes that book you have in front of you. Whatever. All Google does is find published stuff that may have an answer. Exactly. And that's one of the things I don't like about Google is it all based on popularity, and AI can instantly change history completely. So I'm going to give a really, really bad example. Well, I'll give two examples, but really, really bad example. Why do you think they came out with the movie Frozen? Disney movie Frozen. Little Olaf. You got little Olaf, you got Anna, you got the Frozen, let it go. I mean, all you want to do is sing on top of the mountain and let it go. Why did they do that? They did that so that when people Googled Disney Frozen, they're not getting the response that Walt Disney is cryogenically frozen. No, they're going to get nothing more than references to Frozen the movie. The same thing with, and dare I say this, Dubai chocolate. I love that one. Do a deep dive on the history of Dubai chocolate. You're going to love that story. But what better way to cover a controversy than creating the most delicious, expensive chocolate that you can have, Dubai chocolate. Okay, so that's my rant on Google. So there we go. Oh, you're telling me not to blame Google? Come on. They've admitted exactly, they provide biased results. That's the whole thing with Google. They're not going to give you the real answer. And the fact is, when you look up something that they give you two opposing answers to the same question, aggravates me completely, because then it's like I'm using this to try to figure out what the answer is, but you're giving me two answers and it's one or the other. I don't know what the answer is. That's why I'm looking it up. Okay. You got to do your own research. You can't just accept the first answer. Absolutely. Research is the most important thing. All right. I will not stand for Google slander. You know what? I will admit, I will even get to the point where I use other, but to me, they're all the same. I mean, whether you use Bing or Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever, they're all the same. They really are. You know what I wish? I wish that if you need an answer, that they could legitimately give you an answer and explain it. And they can have like a little guide saying, okay, this is a parody answer. This is scientific based. This is religious based. Like have a little thing. This is the answer based in a movie. You know what I mean? Like have a little blurb on it. So this way you know what is real, what is not, what is, you know what I mean? Bring back good old Yahoo. Does everybody remember Yahoo? That's what they need to bring back. I'm old school. I feel old. Google, yeah. It's hard to imagine when I talk to the kids that I can legitimately say I'm older than Google, and they look at me like, huh? I'm older than Google. Kaz, that's why you don't like conspiracy theories. You want to go down rabbit holes? Wow, we could go down rabbit holes. But I try to incorporate my little rabbit holes in here. But that's all right. All right, so we're going to war. we're on chapter 13. We are now going to war. So he's sending off all the rulers to the Canaanites. And are we going? Okay, we're going to start naming again. So Moses, by the commandment of the Lord, sent from the wilderness of Paran all the men that were heads of the children of Israel. So now we're going to go through each of the tribes. These were their names: the tribe of Reuben, Shamua the son of Zaku; the tribe of Simeon, Zaphat the son of Hori; the tribe of Judah, Caleb the son of Jephaniah; the tribe of Issachar, Eagle the son of Joseph; the tribe of Ephraim, Oshai the son of Nun; the tribe of Benjamin, Peliti the son of Raphu; the tribe of Zebulun, Gideon the son of Sodu. I can't stand when they do these. I really don't. Of the tribe of Joseph, namely of the tribe of Manasseh, Gadi the son of Sushi; the tribe of Dan, Amimal the son of Gamali; the tribe of Asher, Suthar the son of Michael; and the tribe of Naphtali the son of Volshi. Of the tribe of Gad, Guiel was the son of Machi. These are the names of the men which Moses sent to spy on the other land. And Moses called Oshea the son of Nun, Joshua. And Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and said unto them, Get up this way. What are you doing? You're playing with the... She's playing with the little rubber band. Sorry. Get up here this way southward, and go up onto the mountain, and see the land, what it is, and the people that dwell there, whether they be strong, weak, few, or many. Okay, so basically they're scouting out, ready to go for war. It's like, go up there, go scout them out, one from each tribe. We're going to go to war. Let's see if we can beat these people. Let me just go back. Oh, going to blow my cover. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I just don't put too much faith into either of them. Well, see, if we're talking about the social media, like the search engines, I just wish they would have like a right, like it make it easier, because there's too much garbage in between the searches. And what is the land that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad? What cities they be that dwell in, whether in tents or strongholds? And what is the land, whether it be fat or lean, whether there be wood therein or not? And be ye good courage, bring of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grape. So they went up, searched the land from the wilderness of Zin unto Roab, and the men came to Hamath. They ascended by the south and came unto Hebron, where Ashima, Shishai, and Talmai, the children of Anak, were. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. All right, so see, they're naming cities, they're naming places, they're naming all this stuff. Not into conspiracy theories. I just get overloaded and shut it down. You don't have to be into conspiracy theories. I like learning about them. Some of them are like really far out there, and others I'm like, this has to be the answer. So, but it makes your mind wonder. I mean, some people could say conspiracy theories are nothing more than to cause mass confusion, but I just have this dread and this cynicism that we have been lied to about everything. Everything is a lie. And, I mean, you can look at it one way or the other. You can look at it that we've been lied to all our lives. Am I going to live my life in paranoia, fear, and disgust? Or, like I said earlier, where I'm laughing it off and laughing at number, it's like, hey, our whole life is a lie, but you know something? I'm still going to enjoy it. That's how I look at it. So... And they came unto brook of Eshcol, and cut down from thence a branch with one cluster of grapes, and they bare it between two upon a staff. And they brought the pomegranates and the figs. The place was called brook Eshcol, because the clusters of grapes which the children of Israel cut down from there. And they returned from searching the land after 40 days. Why is it always 40 days? 40 days, 40 nights. Always the big number 40. Like, Moses goes up to Mount Sinai for 40 days. They're traveling, spying on the land for 40 days. There's always this pilgrimage of 40 days. When they came to Moses and to Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel into the wilderness of Paran and Kadesh, they brought back word unto them and all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. Okay, so now they're basically saying, hey, look, we can conquest these people because they have grapes and stuff. I mean, that's what I'm getting right now. Let's see if that's what it is, that they're going to be going to war. Who do you think made the video? Oh, landing on the moon? It was Stanley Kubrick. Good old Shining Man, Mr. Shining. I'm sorry. Melanie is missing the entire Google Spy conversation. I'm trying to, I'm reading and I'm jumping in. I'm like, but yes, Stanley. I strongly believe that Stanley Kubrick was the one that did the moon, and that's why he was killed off when he was killed off, because he exposed way too much of the Illuminati in his last movie. Darn, what was the name of that movie? The one with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. I can't think of the name of that movie. But yeah, he exposed too much. That's what I'm... Okay, so I'm actually the AI that keeps posting all the quail plague discussion. The quail eggs! Boom! I just... You know what it is? I shouldn't laugh. Eyes Wide Shut. Thank you. That's the name of the movie. Yeah. I'm going to say that Stanley Kubrick got killed off because of that movie. That's my theory, so... He exposed way too much in that movie. So, that's why they killed him off. It was a weird movie, though. Alright, so let's go on, because we're getting into war, and they're bringing grapes and whatever. Okay, so they took him and said, we came unto the land whither thou sent us, and surely it floweth with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled, and a very great, and moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. And the Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites, and the Jebusites, and the Ammonites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea, and the coast of Jordan. And Caleb stilled the people before Moses, and said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. But the men that went up with him said, we will not be able to go against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to search is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof. And all the people we saw are men of great stature. And there we saw the giants, the son of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, as so were... There's your answer. Okay, so, couple of things. One, we're talking about giants again. So, the giants were not annihilated with Noah, which we thought when Noah had the great flood, which means one of two things. Either the great flood didn't necessarily kill everybody off, or two, after the great flood, angels are still coming down, interacting with humans. Because that's the Nephilim. That's what creates giants, is the angels coming down, interacting with humans. So, there must still be... Okay, before you get sidetracked, giants could also... Oh, no. This is... Yeah. This is Nephilim. This is... No. I'm going to go with the weird Nephilim theory, because I'm not going to accept that these people are simply basketball versus... No, I'm not. No, this is... Because they're even saying... in our own sight as grasshoppers. So we're talking little man, big man. Okay? Because we already know about giants. And let's talk historically. And I know you're not going to like this deep dive, but there is the whole idea that dinosaurs never existed, and the bones that they're collecting are actually giant bones. But they had to come up with the story to wipe out the Bible. So instead of acknowledging that there were people that were actually big, let's just say that there was some sort of reptilian creatures that roam the earth, which we'll call dinosaurs, and the bones that we're finding, we'll just say are dinosaur bones. This way we don't have to tell people that they're giants. Oh, you want to hear the coolest dinosaur? Okay, let's hear it. Or is that the one I just said? And the Smithsonian swoops in and disappears. Exactly. Yes. Oh, yeah. If you have a dinosaur theory, because the other dinosaur theory is that dinosaurs are actually dragons. And dragons are, I mean, that's the whole other theory is about the whole dragon. So, this explains that Moses and his people are not Nephilim. Somebody said that they are. No, they're coming into giants from the what city are they looking at? The Amalekites? Paran to Kadesh, the Amalekites. The Amalekites dwell. Those are the giants, the Amalekites. Caleb is this city. Imagine if animals lived as long as humans did back in the day, like 900 years. Well, like right now, we have, what do you call it, like turtles? We have great whales. How big do you think a 900-year-old lizard would be? Would probably be as big as a giant. Maybe. Because I think of the Galapagos turtles. Galapagos turtles, which recently one of them died in the zoo. But these big Galapagos turtles will live to about 200-300 years before they pass on. Even think of parrots or cockatoos. Those things last like 80-90 years. Your bird will outlive you. Mine says grasshoppers, but the footnote says as mere insects. So definitely not just a normal person. Normal person, mine says grasshoppers. In my mind, we're talking about actual giants. These are not simply a 1 foot tall difference. This is me standing up against a 50-foot person. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm going to go with the biblical. I mean, we haven't even gotten to David and Goliath yet, but we know David and Goliath was a giant story as well. So, you check out Kent Hovind? Kent Hovind? I don't know. Is that a basketball player or is that something else? Kent Hovind? Oh, he's a Christian fundamentalist apologist, and he's a tax protester. What is a tax protester? Okay, so his Young Earth Creationist Ministry focuses on the denial of scientific... Okay, so he's a creationist. I do have to say something very interesting. I'm here in Texas, and there is an area in Glen Rose called Dino Valley. And basically the whole thing about the city is where they find all these dinosaur bones. And you could go on trails and stuff like that, and they have whatever. And in this city, aside from all the dinosaur references, they have the Creationism Museum. Now, not to make fun, I actually said, I want to go to the Creationism Museum. And my family looked at me, they're like, are you crazy? I'm like, no, I'm serious. I want to go. And we went. We spent the day at the Museum of Creationalism. And what I thought was fascinating was that it was taking the biblical story of creationism and tying it into science through the dinosaurs. But the part that still is in the back of my mind is that I still believe dinosaurs are the giants. It could be giant animals, but they're giants in the Bible. Okay, mine says powerful people, not... Yours is the NIV. Yes, I work 10 minutes. You work 10 minutes from there? Where? From the Creationism Museum? You're in Texas, aren't you? right? Or I don't know. But yes, I've been to the. I enjoyed going there. I thought it was very interesting, very scientific, and they even have. Oh, you work at a hotel in Glen Rose. Okay, I used to live in Stephenville, so Glen Rose. I mean, even though it was like a 45-minute ride, it wasn't too bad. Now I live in Wichita Falls, which is up by the Oklahoma border. But but yeah, I used to go to Glen Rose all the time. I love going there because I loved going to Dino Valley, and I loved going to I can't think of the animal reserve, whatever the animal reserve was. I agree with you on that about dinosaurs being giants. Yes, thank you for not calling it Stevensville. Why? Some they call it Stevensville? Oh no, Stephenville. I used to live there. Yeah. Well, that was. Oh, that's what we call our office. Yeah. Um. But yeah, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And then Big Rocks. I love going to Big Rocks. That's another area that I love going to. Anyway, sorry. I said to Chris, I'm like, Chris, I know it's like it's like a 4 hour drive. I says, I would love to take you to Big Rocks with the kids, just to go hopping on the rocks and stuff like that. And then, of course, I found like this little area that you take the trail down and it's like secluded and whatever. I found all the secret hiding places. Okay, anyway. Okay, to be fair, my NIT version says giants. All right, let me just see. Get up, baby. What do we say? Verse 33. So Numbers chapter 13, verse 33. Let me just see what the four of them said. Okay, so King James, there we saw giants. New International. We saw Nephilim there, the descendants of Anak from the Nephilim. We seemed like rest. So right here, the New International Version literally calls them Nephilim. The Living Bible says, we saw Anakim there, descendants of the ancient race of giants. And then the Revised says, we saw Nephilim, the son of Anak, who came from the Nephilim. Okay, so I'm going to accept the fact that these are Nephilim, because 3 different versions are saying that these are Anaks or Nephilim. I never heard of Anak, but I guess Anak was the father of the Nephilim. Verse 28 says powerful people, but yours says powerful people. I'm just curious, what year is your NIV? Because this particular NIV version I have is from 1981. So this version, but like I said, this is the parallel version. So my 1981 for the New International does use the word Nephilim. Interesting. I just think it's interesting. Okay, so now we have once again the reference to giants. So it's not Moses and his people. This is now coming into the Amalekites area of where they're doing. So they scouted out this land, and they're like, oh, we can take them. And they're like, no, we can't take them because they're big, powerful people. They are giants. How are we going to beat them? I have no idea what Unicorn is saying, so whatever. Whatever. All right, chapter 14. I'm not arguing against Nephilim giants. Let me clarify. Oh, no, that's fine. I find it interesting because originally I was under the impression that Moses' camp might be the Nephilim. But now this completely contradicts that. So I actually have it in writing that says, okay, Moses is not Nephilim. We're coming to the people who are. So you all want to hear an interesting theory? I'm looking at you, Kat. Oh, yeah, come on. I want to hear interesting theories. Go put it on. I think giants were over 9 foot, not 30. I'm going to say they're even taller. I'm thinking they're 50 to 100 feet tall. That's what I'm going to say. I'm saying that these giants are huge. So there's also the theory of how land is, with the whole giants being salt mines and rock formations are being petrified giants. The 20-year war in the Middle East was over possessing giants. Because somewhere it says that giant. Oh, it does say that Goliath was 9.5 feet tall? Okay. See, I didn't know that. Sarah, I'm going to say this. I find it hard to believe that any war is over what they say it is. I mean, I have to be careful with how I say this. But a very prominent figure in Germany, when you look at some of his side quests, aside from what he's doing, very into a lot of antiquities, religious artifacts, did a lot of stuff in Antarctica. And then the whole thing of why did they destroy all the church bells in Europe? Like, why were church bells completely destroyed? So it's very interesting when you look at the side quest as to why some of these wars were created. So I'm going to say, yeah, I don't think oil is not, considering oil, they say oil is a, what do you call it? Something that, they call it a fossil fuel, a depreciating thing that we're going to run out. I don't think there's ever going to be a running out of oil sort of thing. I think there's just an unlimited supply that the earth constantly creates it on its own. But the giants have many names in that region based on the language of that land. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's more to the story on all these wars, no matter what war we're looking at. So oil is to earth like, okay, thank you. Yes, that's sort of what I'm getting at. Yeah, I don't believe it's something that's just instantly going to disappear and we're going to deplete it. I think we're being made to, same thing with the whole diamond things. I mean, the whole idea that diamonds are such a rarity, they're not. But I never liked diamonds. I've had that discussion with Chris. I said, Chris, don't you dare get me, like I told him, I'm like, don't you dare spend money on me on a ring. He's like, I'm like, no, I don't. I would be angry with him. I said, seriously, like, to me, a marriage doesn't, I would so be angry with him if he were to get me a ring. So, anyway, I'm sorry. All right, where was I? Okay, so we were talking about, yes. So now, giants. So we got to be careful because they're going to be in the land of giants. Chapter 14. How far is this? All right, this is a pretty... All right, let's see. We're going to get into... Just pick a different stone. My engagement ring is a sapphire. Aww. You know what it is? This is hard to explain. And I try to explain this to Chris, and I can't even, like, formulate my words correctly. And I think part of the reason is, like, I never had anybody ever give me anything of value. like I've never had somebody who loves me give me jewelry or give me a ring or give me a bracelet or a necklace. So to me, I don't attribute, like, love or connection with a materialistic jewelry. And at the same note, I don't understand, like, when I hear people get angry that they don't have, like, a 5-carat diamond, it's like, oh, you only spent, like, $5,000 on this ring and you should have gotten me, I don't know, a $30,000 ring? That boggles my mind. I say to Chris, I'm like, Chris, don't you dare even spend more than $50 on a ring. That's what I told him. I said, in fact, just forego the ring. Don't even get me one. Like, don't. And he's like, seriously? I'm like, seriously? Because, exactly, it's excellent point. It's superficial and gross. I said, if you give me a ring, I will probably destroy it. I will probably be uncomfortable because my hands swell up and I have bad hand issues. I'm like, it's not going to be comfortable for me. I'm going to probably lose it. It means nothing to me. So I guess because then he also said possibly a tattoo, like um like a tattoo on the thing, and I thought about that. The only problem is with him, he cannot get a tattoo, um, and he has tattoos, but he can't get any more because of his heart issues and blood issues. Because he's on blood thinners and stuff like that, it'll literally kill him. I mean, the last time he got a tattoo, he ended up getting blood poisoning and stuff like that. So it's like he cannot get tattoos. So I'm like, does it really matter? Like, do we need a superficial symbolism of our relationship? I don't know, but it's weird. Noah was perfect in his generation, so Noah's genes may have been untainted by angel tampering genes. So he wouldn't. Well, that's what I'm saying. Just based on this alone, I am assuming that they are not Nephilim because they're pointing out that's the land of the giants. That's what we're up against. So I often wondered whether he was Nephilim simply because what made the children of Israel so special? Why did God favor them so much? And it makes me wonder if we go back even further. Okay, Nephilim came from Cain's line. Well, that's one of the things I was going to ask. Did Noah's lineage? I'm sorry, Moses. I'm sorry. Did Moses' lineage come from Abel? No, because Abel never had a wife or child. Cain had the wife and child. But you know what I mean? It's like, it makes me wonder. So was the days of Noah, so becoming as it was the day. Okay, wait a minute. So Noah came from the Seth lineage. Okay, so Seth was the third child of Adam and Eve, supposedly. I still have this crazy theory that Cain's father was the serpent, Abel's father was the Lord, and Seth, who was described as the only son that bore the image of Adam, was the genuine Adam's. That's how I think it is, and I know that's good. So Moses came from Seth. Okay, so that would explain why there may be a favoritism. Only Noah's, it's not the others. So Noah's lineage goes all the way back to original Adam and Eve. Possibly. I don't know. The people of Sodom and Gomorrah came from Cain's lineage, and the Nephilim came from them. But from Sodom and Gomorrah, they were all destroyed with the exception of Lot and his children. Lot's wife ended up turning around and she turned to dust, but he still went on. So Lot's son and children would have been the lineage of the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, so you're saying that only Noah might be Nephilim? Angels left their heavenly bodies, craved human women. That's what Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, yeah, because one of the things, and there's a small quote, I forget where it says, where it said that the children of God, not humans, the children of God came down to dwell among the daughters of earth. And I forget where it is, but the children of God. So it had nothing to do, it was, which are the angels children of God? Are like some sort of demons children of God? Who were the children of God? So whoever those divine children of God was that came down, that's what, and most people say they're angels. But the Bible, my version said children of God came down to the daughters of earth. So, supposedly that's where Nephilim came from. Angels craving humans and causing depravity. Yeah, they mingled with the daughters of the earth. So, yes, I do agree that there was one sons of God means angels. One sons of gods means Seth. Okay, so two versions. So the sons of God either mean angels or the sons of God means Seth's family. Which, like I said, Seth is the only one that actually came in the image of Adam. Cain and Abel, I'm iffy about, simply because I'm taking that whole scene with the serpent, with the fruit, I'm feeling like he had sex with Eve. And they had sex. That's why immediately afterwards she covered her genitals, and there was the whole nakedness idea. So yes, the fruit could have been part of it, but I feel like there's more to the story that we're missing, that she became impregnated, and that's why she had Cain, and that is why the Lord did not like Cain, because it was the son of the serpent. Cain and Abel are Noah's son. No, Cain and Abel are not Noah's son. Cain and Abel were Adam and Eve's. Supposedly Adam and Eve, but what I'm saying is, I think Cain was the son of the serpent, and Abel was the son of the Lord, because the Lord intervened when Eve said, "The Lord gave me child," when Adam laid with her. So Adam laid with her, but the Lord gave me child. And then I think Seth is the only natural born child of... That's my take on it. That could be a controversial take, but if you look at it from that perspective, then it makes total sense on the different lineages. It makes total sense why the Lord favored one versus the other. It also makes sense with the whole idea of Cain being a ground dweller where Abel was the shepherd. So it makes a lot of sense if you look at it from that perspective. The Lord gave us all child who have children. Wait, you think whose son was who? Okay, my belief. Cain is the serpent's son. Abel is the Lord's son. And Seth is the only one that is described in the image of Adam. Because when you read each time that Adam laid with Eve, there was intervention with the Lord as well. And what I'm saying is that whole scene with the tree of knowledge of good and evil, I think in addition to the whole idea of biting into the fruit, I think they also had a relationship, Eve and the serpent, and that is why the Lord got so angry. Because, one, she exposed her nakedness, realizing immediately she's covering her genitalia, we are naked. Cain did not give a credible offering, and he was jealous of Abel. Exactly, but still, he still had... I know it's a crazy theory, but if you read it carefully, just thinking under that premise, and read it how the Lord keeps intervening each time there's a conception, and then when Eve says, "The Lord gave me the seed," the Lord gave... It makes me wonder, even though she laid with Adam, she was being divine intervention with the serpent and then with the Lord. Noah's blood was pure. When Noah was born, his father went to his grandfather because he lit up the room. Cain did not... Okay. Mind Street says Adam made love to his wife Eve, and she became pregnant. But then she says the Lord gave us... There's a verse that I was looking at, that the Lord gave me the seed. Okay, just making a couple of references. So in Genesis chapter 4:25, Adam knew his wife again. So Adam did sleep with his wife, and she bare a son and called him Seth. For God had appointed me another seed instead of Abel, who came... Okay, right. So what I'm saying is, God keeps giving her a seed. God, in a way, even though she's laying with Adam, God kept intervening each time. So that's one thing about... And there was another reference where she was saying that God gave me the seed. The Lord gave me the seed. So I'm looking at chapter 4, verse 25. And I'm looking at, okay, chapter 4, verse 1. Adam knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I've gotten a man from the Lord. So Genesis 4:1, Genesis 4:25. So even though Adam laid with her, she's still saying, I've gotten a man from the Lord. So that's just my crazy thing. I think things have been, because remember, Lord, it's a crazy theory. I'm saying Cain came from the serpent simply because the Lord did not like Cain. He favored Abel. And now you could say that it was simply because of the offering. I think there's more to the story, and I think it has to go with some of the changes in text and some old text as well. So that's why my belief is I really believe the serpent, that there was more to the story. I think that the whole idea between the indulging in the fruit was them also indulging in passion between each other. Right, Abel didn't have any children, so Cain and Abel were twins? No, I don't think Cain and Abel were twins. Jacob and Isaac. Wait. Esau and Jacob were twins, and then there was another set of twins. There was two set of twins, but I don't think Cain and Abel were twins because they're even saying that Cain came first, then Abel came. So they were two different. There was two different things. Yeah, Jacob and Esau were twins. They were twins. Abel had no twins, and Cain had Enoch. Wait, Enoch was the son of Cain? Okay. Enoch keeps coming up. I want to know what happened to Enoch because Enoch disappeared. So the serpent came to take away dominion. He didn't come to give. He always exists to take away. One birth, two children. All right, so I had the, I don't think that Cain and Abel were twins. I think they were born on separate times. Esau and Jacob were twins, and then there was a second set of twins. I want to say that there was a second set of twins that either Abraham or Moses, I don't know. There was a second set of twins, but I don't remember who had that set of twins. Well, to be fair, it says later she gave birth to Abel. Okay, yeah, so Cain first, then Abel. But technically, if they're twins, there could be a time difference. I mean, it could be like giving birth to one and then immediately giving birth to another is still giving birth at two different times. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, that's my crazy thought about Cain and Abel. Which, you know something, everybody can instantly say, no, that's not true. But I'm sticking with the thought that I believe that that's why the lineage of Cain is so cursed. One had red string tied around his wrist, but I don't remember who. I want to say that was Esau and who are okay. So Jacob and Esau were twins. Perez and Zerah. Okay, so there was only the two sets of twins in the Old Testament. Perez and Zerah that were born to Judah and Tamar, and then Jacob and Esau. So, I have not read the book of Adam and Eve. Not yet. That's one of the things I want to do is when I'm done reading the Bible, I want to start reading the banned text. So those are some of the things that I want to do. Oh, let me go back because a whole bunch of things were just. All right, so who was the one with the umbilical cord? Judah and Tamar. Right, Judah and Tamar had. Okay, so Judah, Tamar, Perez, and Zerah, and Jacob and Esau both had. But no, I haven't read the book of Adam and Eve. He struck his hand out, and they tied a string around his wrist, and he went back in. Jacob had twins, Jacob and Esau, and Judah had twins. Okay, so that's the two sets of twins. I knew there was two sets of twins. So, but Jacob and Esau was I don't know if we're going to hear more of Perez and Zerah, but we definitely heard a lot about Jacob and Esau, particularly since they swapped, where the blessing went to the younger instead of the older one. Oh, this is where the Kabbalah red thread thing comes in? Oh, that should be interesting. Lots of symbolism. Yeah, so a lot of things that are done in the Old Testament continues on nowadays. So, all right, where were we? I'm trying to think. What time is it? It's 11:22. Yeah, because I have a couple of things. Oh, is that where I'm asking? It probably does. I mean, that's something I would love to learn is Kabbalah, the Jewish mysticism. It's a talisman used for protection against the evil eye and negative energies. It's often associated with the biblical figure of Rachel, who is said to have tied a red thread around her tomb as a protective measure. The red thread is to absorb negative energy and traditionally worn on the left wrist, which is believed to be the side of the heart, symbolizing the desire to receive and share. The red thread has roots in various cultures for luck and love. Interesting. Left side of the heart. And now they say the heart is dead center. I was always taught that the heart is on the left side, and nowadays it's dead center. I don't understand that. Oh, I have no idea. I know about cults, but not really You know about cults? There was a documentary, and I can't even find it. I don't know if it's still on Netflix or not, and I couldn't believe I watched the whole thing. It was How to Become a Cult Leader, that basically gave you step by step on how to be a charismatic cult leader. And I thought to myself, what am I watching? Like, why am I watching this? And why would they even have a documentary on teaching people how to become a cult leader? Like, it made me wonder, like, what is wrong with... Let's not do that. Oh, man. I think part of the... Well, I can't even say it. Yeah. I tease Chris, and I shouldn't tease him this way. He's like... I said to him, I says, you know something, I'm glad I found you, because if I didn't find you, I'd probably join a cult. He's like, what? I says, yeah, I would probably join. He's like, no, you wouldn't. I'm like, you don't think I would join a cult? Is that what I'm doing right now? What, joining a cult? No. I don't consider this a cult. I will say this, I've had the cult experience before, and that's what that dream girl thinks. Oh, what, that I'm joining a cult? You know something? I'm not surprised. I think I did mute a whole bunch of people out. I'm curious, if I mute them, do they still talk and you guys see it? Or by me muting them, they completely muted across the board for everyone? I don't know if that's the case. But I muted a whole bunch of people because I just was not in the mood for garbage today. Like when they start like, okay, yeah, you're muted. You're muted. I'm done. I couldn't do that. Okay, no, if you mute, but can they still stay in the like? Can they still read it, or muted means they're gone and they're banned from the? I don't know. No, if you mute them, even their previous comments disappear. Right. So I muted a whole bunch of people because when they started garbage, I'm like, I'm not in the mood today. My patience is done. They could still stay and watch it, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it's only for the duration of the show. Because I think I've muted people before and they came back and like in another show and they just kept blabbering on. I think the difference is between muting and blocking. Yeah, okay, that's what it is. Mute means they can't comment. Block means they can't. I haven't blocked anyone. I just mute people because I figured if they really are interested in what it is, and sometimes mute has a time limit, 5 minutes. Okay, so that's why they could come back another show at that when they start in again. So I try to keep tally of who's saying what and what this, but some days I'm just really not in the mood, and I think today's was one of those days because I started off where it's like, all right, I have a headache. If anybody starts saying with me, up, you're muted. That's it. You're done. You're done. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate the heart. I really do. I'm going. I'm not quitting just yet, but I think I'm going to stop at this chapter and save chapter 14 for tomorrow. Yeah, because 14 is going to be a long chapter. So we're doing chapter 14. That'll be on 12/10. It'll be our 47th show. I love the fact that we're doing so many shows. This is, yes. I muted myself accidentally one time and couldn't figure out how do you mute. You can mute yourself? I didn't even realize that could be done. I'm still trying to figure out. I mean, my biggest problem is when I'm scrolling, I end up sending invites to people, and I'm like, get out of my, because then I can't figure out how do I kick them out of the live. Like I press the button, and it just shows. It doesn't give me instructions on how to kick them. So I'm like, look, can you just leave my live? Just get out of here. And I just hope I don't find like some creepy person that's gonna do something bad, because they'll be like, get out of my live. Just get out of my live. I clocked on my comment and hit mute instead of someone else's. Oh, that's what it is. So you muted yourself so you can't even say anything. Yeah. I will say this in regards to I have a short-lived experience with being part of a cult. And I think that's part of a lot of my religious issues. And you got me tongue tied and speechless. I said to Chris, Chris, because he says to me, he's like, I don't understand how people can be in cults. I says, what don't you understand about it? Like, ultimately, people always want attention. People want community. People want to be understood. They want to be heard. They want to be in a like atmosphere. I says, so what is so wrong when you have a group of people that come together and they have the same ideas? And he's like, but you see what cults do. I says, yes, I know what cults do. I know how bad a cult could be. I know the consequences of a cult. But when you have low self-esteem, when you feel powerless, when you feel like there's no future to you, and you come into a place where people will accept you, where people will love you, where you'll get attention, where you get a voice, that could be a very powerful and persuading thing. If you were in a cult, you have to actually retrain your brain to think in reality again. Absolutely. You do. Initially, I think people who are in cult, and that's, yes. Yeah, that is the case. In my experience, like I said, I was a part of, I was part of one for a while. I probably shouldn't even be talking about this. I didn't realize, I mean, for me personally, I didn't realize what I was doing, why I was doing it. But it was the whole idea that I was doing it with the person I was with. I was with a man. I loved the man. This is what he wanted. This is the direction he wanted to go in. This is how he wanted to live the household. And I think that's where part of my is, and Chris knows this. Like Chris's philosophy with me is always, you have a voice, you have a choice, you can say no to me. And I try to tell him, do you know how hard it is for me to say no to you? Like how hard it is to go against what he wants. And I mean, I tried to explain to him, I says, I'd rather completely deny myself of anything and everything than to say no to you. And I guess this goes back to the conversation. Okay, and by the time you realize you're actually going on, you've already brainwashed and can't see it. Exactly, yes. Oh, here comes all the trolls. See, maybe it's a good thing that I'm ending this live soon. But yeah, here comes the trolls. It's funny though. Have you ever noticed that the trolls always come in at certain points? It's like when I'm legitimately reading the Bible, then there's no trolls. But the moment we start talking away from the Bible and start interjecting personal experience, personal opinions, and how the Bible comes into our lives, that's the point where all the trolls come in. And I'm trying to figure out, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, does that mean I should not be talking about my life? Because the way I look at it is I'm literally, and like I said, for me it's a journey. Originally it was to prove myself wrong. I'm not proving myself now. It's a journey. And by me reading this, which is the map of my life and the journey that I'm going through, why is it the moment when I start talking about my personal life, that's when all the trolls come in? Okay, have you ever as an adult been single in your own place doing your own thing? Yes. Wisdom seeker, I did. I took 5 years off. 3 years. 3 years. It was almost 5 years. I took 3 years off in my life and says I am detaching myself from the world completely. After 3 years, I did another 2 years of dating game. And I did that for a reason. Because before that point, I was never single. I always went from one relationship to another and never had a time of being like free, of being my own person. So I took a total of 5 years off. Before I met Chris, the last 2 years were the 2 years before I met Chris of me doing the dating game. And I will tell you this, the results of me being on my own in the dating game was disastrous. I strongly believe this, and I will say this, me meeting Chris was a lifesaver. Because if I didn't meet Chris, I would be in a grave right now. That alone, if that's not a testimony alone, that alone, if I didn't meet Chris, I would be in a grave right now. That's I already know how bad my life was. I already know how the direction I was going and what I was doing. So Sarah says, I think there's something to that. Culture like narcissistic relationships, love bombing, promises, showering. Yes. And the worst thing is when you're in a narcissist relationship and then that person happens to be in a cult as well. So let's just say that. Once you're dependent and wrapped up in them, the other shoe falls. Exactly. I don't think it means don't talk about your life. I think it proves that the Bible is powerful. And you know something? That's why I said for me, this is more, okay, it's not about me proving the Bible wrong. I thought it was about proving myself wrong, but I'm realizing that this is so much of a journey of my own sense of escape, freedom, mental stability, enjoyment of life, appreciation. Because like I said, and I mean that alone, I mean if this is my testimony to anything, is the fact that me reading this and doing this on a daily basis has changed my life completely, and we're only on day 46. You know what I mean? I mean, it started, the catalyst, I will say the catalyst of this journey was meeting Chris. Because Chris is so strong and backed up by his faith. even though he, at the time of me meeting him, he was withdrawing from the church because he was actually getting frustrated with the church and he was having some religious crisis. But his faith was so strong that by me coming into his life, it's creating, and yes, we don't necessarily go to church. We do go to church sometimes, but it's not a every Sunday thing. I feel like meeting him, he saved my life. I really do. I'm going to say that. Let me go. Thank you so much. I appreciate the teddy. Yes, the darkness cannot stand the light. I agree with him. I'm glad I met Chris too. He's, like I said, he's changed my life. I honestly believe that's concerning that you think he will be unalived. I understand where the concern is. I know for a fact I would have been without Chris. I know for a fact. I will say that I will say this. I was turning to drugs as a coping mechanism. I was turning to really horrible behavior. Before I met Chris, I had the attitude, and I have to be careful because the last time I got in trouble for this, I had the attitude that I didn't care about anything. In fact, I tried to do that, the unaliving. I tried it. I will admit it. I gave up. What stopped me was the fact that I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But that's where I was because I gave up so strongly on my life. And I think, and I say this to him, I said, we all have these catalytic moments in our lives, and I could pinpoint exact points of my life that perhaps I died and was given a choice, and my life turned around again. And I said, me meeting you, something happened. I'm going to say it's divine intervention. It was, because how we met, why we met, the circumstances, I said to him, we should have never met each other. It was a weird circumstance. We should have never met each other. But the fact that our paths cross and that's how we met each other, I'm shocked. So, so you could say God had a plan and brought Chris to you. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. To me, it was divine intervention because on normal occurrences, our meeting shouldn't have ever happened. So I think she means more that not that not meeting Chris. I'm saying that the path that my life was on, I was heading to drugs. I was heading to extreme depression. I mean, no matter what therapy, drugs, or anything like that, I turned to hardcore drugs. Like I spent 45 years of my life, and I turned to the hardest things that I can take. So. I do believe a person can be sent to help, thus needing it. Yes, but you have to be careful with putting anyone on that seat. I think I understand what you're saying, Wisdom, as far as putting him up on a pedestal. If I'm reading your right, and I know that is part of my block, and I know that's a block. The reason I say it's part of my block is because, and I've had this discussion with him, I said, you realize my personality and my past is nothing more than extreme hyperfixation and devotion. So yes, perhaps I'm hyperfixating on Chris. The only thing is, for the first time, I never had that reciprocal hyperfixation back on me. And I know that sounds crazy, and it's not trying to be blinded. It's not me being blinded by the love bug, because I even say this to him, and he sometimes gets like, "How could you say this?" And I say to him, I'm like, "You really do love me? Like, you want me in your life? You love me? Like, is that possible? Like, how can you?" And it's like, to him, that's the most ridiculous question. And I say to him, I'm like, I don't understand why you would even want to be with me. And he's so monogamous. He's so loyal. And I mean, for him, that is his perfection of being a wife, of being with a relationship. He's like, when it comes to relationships, his strong core belief is, I want to be with the woman who wants to be with me 100% all the time. That it's a back and forth equality. And I said to him originally, I'm like, relationships are never about equality. And he's like, what are you talking about? I says, I always saw it as a give and take thing. It's like, yes, I'll have to make sacrifices in order for you to do this, same as you would have to do with me. But then my therapist, yeah, I go, she made a suggestion and she says, something that has nothing to do that it's a give and take. You are equal. You're both giving 100%, even if you're giving up things. So if you're choosing to sacrifice something, you're still sacrificing at 100% for him as he's doing for you. Let me catch up because a lot of things. Maybe what stopped you was God wanted you to be his and you weren't yet. That's fair. Chris was the instrument, not the savior. It was God and it is God, not Chris. And that's why I say I really believe that there was divine intervention between Chris and myself. Because under the circumstances, we would have never normally met. I'll just say that. So yes, I do believe there's divine intervention. And I think that's why this is important for me to go on this quest, because this is my form of gratefulness, humbleness, and thankfulness. And that's the only way I know how to show it. And the only way I know how to show it is to learn and understand and incorporate, if that makes sense. And that's why I feel like I'm on such a quest that I need to read this as much as I can. And I need to understand it. And I need to incorporate it. And I need to feel it and believe it. You could end up worshiping Chris, not God. Be blessed by Chris, but credit God for the blessing. And Kaz, that's something I often debate within myself, because I've already been in situations where I worship the man and not the God. Same with Jesus. He loves you and wants you to be in your life. I mean, is he single? He's with me. Yes, not crazy. That's honest, and it's good to be honest. It's okay to love him, but love God more. That's how I got saved. I realized nobody has ever or will ever love me this much. Oh, you sent me a heart. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. In loving God, gaining a relationship with him, you will find the true you, because... I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got distracted by the comment. You will not ask permission to love, or you will not ask permission to love or receive love. Wait. Am I reading that wrong? In loving God, gaining a relationship with him, you will find the true you, because then you will not ask permission to love. Okay, now I understand what you're saying. I had to read it together at first because I got distracted with the comment in between. I never thought that people will love me or like me. That's how low self-esteem I have. And I will say that completely. I do have low self-esteem. I will. So it's hard for me to believe that somebody could love me as much as I love them. Now, having said that, I'm trying to find, at this time, I understand the story of Jesus, but I don't understand the story of Jesus fully. And that's why I said we're not there yet. I'm reading the story of the Lord right now. And I will say this, and forgive me, guys, and that's why I think the Lord is a completely different story than Jesus. But in reading about the Lord, I don't see how the Lord would love me. But in knowing the story of Jesus, even without reading it, I know that Jesus loves me. And I know that seems a little different. Like, it's a different. But I'm trying to see how the progression of where the Lord is and then he turns into the loving of Jesus. I'll get there. I know I'm going to get there, and I know it's a slow journey, but at the same time, for it to be slow, it's also moving into all facets of my life. So it's not just me coming in and reading the Bible and then going about my day, because even throughout my day, I'm thinking about it, I'm analyzing, I'm incorporating, I'm remembering, I'm healing. I'm literally healing, because there are times that I think about the past and I think about what happened and think about choices and things I've done and this and that. And it's bringing me at peace with myself. And that's what I think I need. One of the things I need to do is forgive myself as well, because I always put the blame upon myself. It was like I was taught that everything is my fault. When I gained the relationship with God because he sent Jesus to, I realized he loves me more than I love myself. I actually have 6 different Bibles that I'm reading. The one that I'm reading is the King James Version. This is a 1977 version. But I do have the Parallel Bible as well, which is 4 different Bibles. I have the Masonic Bible. I have the Zondervan. I have the NIV. I have the Living Bible. I have the Men's Bible. So I do have different Bibles here. So I do a compare and contrast. And I also discuss with people if there's any differences to blurt it out, because I think it's important. When you finally accept Jesus, you are a new creation. The past does not matter. There's no shame and condemnation at the foot of the cross. Okay, don't let your shame stop you from coming to Jesus. In all that you are reading now, God knew we could not live right enough to get back to heaven. So he made a way. And like I said, that's why I think this is important. And I'm calling this a journey because, like I said, even in the past 47 days, the little difference is I said, I started out, how many times did I start and say, I want to prove myself wrong? I'm not proving myself wrong. I'm realizing that mentality shouldn't even be on I shouldn't be proving myself wrong. What I should be doing and what I am doing is going on the journey as we hear the stories, as we're learning about the parables, the tales, the metaphors, the symbolism. I mean, all this stuff, I have to say, does have a meaning. There is an answer. There is a reason. Like we were just analyzing that whole thing about, you could say, the racism of, but the fact is, they went against God. They disagreed with the opinion. They got consequences. So something like that. Just a little story about reading about the consequences for just having a difference of opinion. No matter what my personal opinion is, that alone is a lesson that you could take to heart and use it in other assets of your life. You should shed the clothes of your past and put on the clothes that make God see you just like his son. When God sees you, he sees Jesus, not your failures. The only reason I'm confronting my past, and this has to go with what we talked about, is because I think I bubbled and boxed things up too much. Remember I said I have my little shelf of all my boxes, all my little bubbles? And I think that's what the problem is. I held them too long in a box or a bubble, and now that I'm finally opening them up and freeing these thoughts, sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. And I think that's what I'm doing, is I'm purging myself of some of these boxed up things. So that's the only reason why my past is coming back into play. You will never be clean enough or smart enough or ready enough. I laugh behind the cleaning up because we've had this discussion. I'm constantly showering and I start freaking out. I start freaking out when people talk about me being dirty. Cursing out this. Like, he's he's funny. No, it's funny because when I start freaking out, if I feel like I'm dirty, I'm like, it's shower time. I'm going to shower, and he's he just shakes his head. I'm sorry. When God sees you, He sees Jesus, not your failures. You'll never be clean enough, smart enough, or ready enough. Absolutely, I agree. You know what it is? Back to that. It's involving perfection. And there's always a strive to be perfect, but you can never be perfect. There's always going to be things for improvement. The thing about it is God forgets and encourages you to do the same and press forward, holds you back. Press towards the mark of the high calling of Jesus. Press towards the mark of the high calling. I'm not too sure what that means. What she means is you might as well. Oh, okay, you might as well. I think the other comment disappeared. Sorry, gotta go. Oh, thank you so much, Francis. No, I appreciate it. I'm going to be ending it soon because I do have some errands that I need to do today. The kids are home from school. The kids are in there. One has a broken foot, and the other one is home from college. And the third one is going to be, I got to pick up from the bus because she's still in school. So it's going to be a busy day, and I have to go to the post office today. Yeah, I got to take a trip to the post office. Anyway, righteousness is the mark. Press towards righteousness and leave your past behind. I feel like I just have to confront it. I have to forgive myself for my past. Is it me forgiving myself of my past, or is it Jesus forgiving me? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. But forgiveness is an interesting thing, and I feel like I need to forgive myself for my past. So I guess that's why I'm doing it. But yes, have a great day, Francis. Thank you so much for joining. So guys, tomorrow we're going to start chapter 14. I do have to ask for forgiveness. I know that. I know. I think it's a combination of forgiving myself and being forgiven. And yeah, we'll see. I know. I'm trying to figure this out. I didn't get any sleep last night. That's the other thing. I had a very, very uneasy night. And usually when I get into an uneasy night, I start getting very reflective. And maybe that's what part of the problem is. But, all right. So tomorrow we're going to start on that chapter. I want to thank everybody. I mean, I do have to say, every day it's a blessing that you guys come on. We can read, we can learn. I am learning so much from you guys. It really is. I mean, for me to like rattle off what my thoughts are, what my questions are, what my doubts are, and then to have you guys tell me your opinions, your thoughts, it's amazing. Think of God's forgiveness as a Christmas gift under the tree. Are you going to sit there and stare, wondering what's inside, or open it and accept? Do I have to wait till Christmas? You're probably like, no, open it now. I can say I have the patience. I'll wait till Christmas. No. When the time is right, I know I'm already there and I'm ready to open. I do. I mean, I literally am holding, so, but for me, it's not like, I'm not denying the gift is there. I see the gift. The gift is there. So, but, all right, guys, open it, just rip it open, like, rip it open. All right, guys, we'll continue this on tomorrow. We will. I know it's 12 o'clock now, so wrapping paper all over the floor. Just shred over, give it to the kitty cats and let them play with it, right? The dogs will run around with the wrapping paper too. It's like, I'm opening this box. Time doesn't exist for God, so you don't have time with love. But see, I could look at it this way. Time doesn't exist, so you don't have time, which means it doesn't have to be done right this minute either. So, right this minute, though, I got to go to the post office, and I got some errands to do. I hate when I have to do errands, but I have to do errands. All right, guys. So I know we're not guaranteed tomorrow. I know. And that's why every day for me, I wake up with a smile and gratefulness and a blessing. And I think that's the key. And I said this many times and we'll say it again. There are those who choose to live and there are those who choose to exist. I feel like every day I'm living because I spent too many days existing. And this is my time to live. So, with that, all right, guys. So, I am going to say, have a great day. Yeah, because I do have to get going. Lots of love. You pray for salvation in the Lord. Thank you so much, Wisdom. I do. And amen, everybody. I mean, thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your blessings. And thank you. I sincerely say this. Thank you so much for this time that you give me. It really is. It's the year of the Jubilee, and out of Zion Hills, salvation comes. Aw. Have a good one, guys. Take care. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Amen.